Look at that. Would that be Jabori's house? It's not as detailed as typical C-class buildings, but...
We should check it out, see if we can find him. Maybe he could tell us more about the tremors.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Salami. Today we're looking at Solasta 2. There is a demo available on Steam, and I think the first game is severely underrated, so we're going to go back and look at that in the future. But for now, I wanted to check out the demo that's just dropped for Solasta 2. So as you can see here, I went through the video options. That's what it auto recommends. I did try dropping everything to low. It makes no tangible difference in this demo, so I just left it on the recommended. So I'll get it out of the way right now before we even get into game. This game is not Steam Deck ready. It is, again, it's an early alpha beta. It's not ready for release, so hopefully by the time they get to release, they will have added in things like FSR or DLS or
I hope that's not Ellie's home.
XESS, because at the moment the only option for scaling is using the internal scaler, which I've got. It's currently on like 77, but the game is very grainy and it runs in the low teens, between 15 and 30 FPS, and I would say it's in this pre-alpha state. Basically unplayable on Steam Deck. I played up until the first fight and took out some crabs, which we'll see in this video, and I ran around the town, but it's pretty choppy.
Everything
and
all right?
The game's not looking overly pretty.
No
so my recommendation is, let's hope the developers here go in hard and add some more scaling options, and think of Steam Deck going into the future with some more optimization. Of course, pre-alpha, I wouldn't worry about it, but I guess a good way of looking at it is pre-alpha, the game does run on Steam Deck, and so that's a good sign for full release that we will be able to play this in a reasonable state. And if you don't know what Solasta is, I might as well just get that out of the way here. It is basically a 5th edition D&D video game. So in the veins of Baldur's Gate 3, right? So basically Solasta 1 and Baldur's Gate 3 and Solasta 2 are basically in the same ballpark.
Bless my furry feet.
Solasta somehow got forgotten, and Baldur's Gate 3 got absolutely blew up. So I'm trying to give some love to Solasta and get more people to check this out. The first game definitely runs really well on Steam Deck. I will go back and do a video on that in the future. I think the text might be a bit small in that, but it's definitely playable.
It's embarrassing. I'm not allowed to leave the village, except to go fishing. The mayor says it's not safe. Always overreacting.
What was that you were saying about dragons?
Oh, there's a big old dragon comes down this way every year to nest. Mostly leaves us alone if we leave it be, but it takes half our pearl harvest for the trouble. Reckon it likes the fish and crabs down in these parts too. It's been
one thing that hit me off the bat that I'm really liking about the conversation system in this game over Baldur's Gate 3 is, in Baldur's Gate 3 you had to play a character that was your face, even if it wasn't your main character. So if you're fighting a dumb barbarian in Baldur's Gate 3, you shouldn't really be using that character for your dialogue options. You'd have to change to a different character, where here I really like that the whole party talks to whoever you're talking to, and you're using the best stat in the party for that person that answers. I think that's a much more fair way of doing it, and it feels more cohesive that all the characters are voiced. I'm not sure if this is going to be in the full game, because they do say this is a prologue slash small story, so I'm not sure if this is in the full release. I would say so. It seems like a lot of work not to have it, but yeah. So I'm really liking how they do the face of the party, where everyone talks and no one's left out. And I also like the menu system that we'll see later on for dealing with equipment and items. I find it a little less cumbersome than Baldur's Gate 3, which I found very cumbersome, especially controller version. I found changing gear in that game to be ultimately really annoying, and it annoyed the hell out of me how the inventory system worked in Baldur's Gate. So here it's already much better and more optimized for controllers, but we'll go over that when we get to it further in the video. But let's jump forward.
Natural.
One thing you might have noticed is the camera in this game is much more dynamic than Baldur's Gate 3. I know that might be annoying for you to hear in this, but it honestly feels so much better to control. The fact you've got proper third person here definitely makes you feel more involved. While Baldur's Gate 3 could let you zoom in, it wasn't quite like this. I sound like a fanboy of Solasta too, and I've only played for like an hour, and to be honest, I kinda am. Quite like the contextual button mapping, you know, for like vaulting through windows and everything like that. It's very clean and clear. And one nice thing in this is they don't have the silly jump that was in Baldur's Gate 3. You just push A to jump. You're not doing skill checks for jumps. Anyway, I wanted to show you the menu here. So we'll collect our loot and then we push Y on the controller and we bring up our beautiful menu screen here. As you can see, we have all our gear that can be equipped on our left and right. And as you can see on the right hand side, to go through your different slots, you use the right analog stick to move through them, and then from there you can equip and compare. Well, Baldur's Gate 3 was just a mass of square boxes, and you were trying to figure out what were weapons, what were armor, what types were here. Even just that quick look definitely makes it a lot easier to understand what you're looking for, and it feels much more controller friendly. So without further ado, let's jump to a little bit of combat. Alright, so here we go. We're going to jump to some combat here. Again, I'm going to sound like a little bit of a broken record, but honest to God, I feel like these guys have looked at Baldur's Gate 3 and their first game and said, how can we make this work on controls in a way that's fair, clear, and makes a lot of sense. Okay, so as you can see here, you've got your ability bar down the bottom. You press X, you can have two favorites, and then they nest all your abilities into certain pieces. It just makes it much more manageable in terms of what you're looking for without having just loads of information in front of you that's hard to manage. With the radial wheels in Baldur's Gate 3, I find this a much cleaner situation. They also give you the big task, the large outline of your enemy on the right hand side there, telling you what their hit points are and abilities and all that. Like, it's read, and I really like that. On top of that, for spells, you'll see later on in this combat, they nest spells for you beautifully. So the first one is your intricate, your spell cantrips, which you always can cast, and then they do a list of your level 1s and then a list of your level 2s and so on and so forth. It makes finding spells and knowing what ones you can cast much easier. I'm a big fan of their UI, especially for D&D, and also it's very easy to swap between your weapon sets as you get two, which I do here for my rogue, changing her from her bow back to her dagger for sneak attacks, and also on my paladin here, and he switches to javelins and then back to his sword and shield. It just worked really well. As you can see here, it all is just very clean and clear. And they also have down the bottom left there when the dice rolling in their portrait, which is kind of cool. And you use the triggers to pass through different your enemy types. So it works really well here. But back on subject, this game if this looks playable, you download the demo and give it a go, right? Like, there's no harm in giving this a go. It looks fine on this little like video that I'm making, but in game you'll notice that it is quite degraded in terms of quality and color. So keep that in mind going forward. I don't want to recommend it, but as a free download, there's no harm in trying it, right? And if this is the only way you can play it, then go for it. But I would suspect by the time they get to early access or full release, they will have different scaling options, and we're just hoping FSR3 is there, and XESS, and even DLSS, because we can at least inject the mod to access it on Steam Deck now in a very easy manner through Decky. So going forward, hopefully they add all three versions of scaling and we can pick the best one for us. This game doesn't need to be 60, you can definitely play this at a 30 as it's turn-based, but we just definitely need to clean up the image quality just a wee bit, as it's just a little bit too low for me. But without further ado, au revoir, and if you found this helpful, give us a like and a sub. Have a great day, guys.